The other task in the assignment was to take out just the linear data points. So by that we mean the linear portion of this graph over here, and plot it on its own separate graph. To get each individual column, we used the index array block to take out one column index, one entire one. But now we need to take just a portion or a subset of that data from each column. So to do that, I'm going to come over here to the programming, array, and I'm going to take an array subset. I need to do this for both X and Y data. So I might as well pull two of them over here, though I can copy paste just as easily. For the array subset block, it takes in an n-dimensional array. There's an index where you start taking the subset and the length of the subset. The default up here for the index is 0, and the default for the length is the rest of the thing. So if you wired in nothing and you put in a 1D array, it would spit out the same 1D array. But if I put in an index of 5, it would spit out all of the cells from cell number 5 on. So I need to wire in something for the index to start and for the length. But first, let me feed my X data in to my X array, and my Y data, I'm going to take it from over here, just so I don't get confused by this spaghetti mess that's going on by this slope guy over here. Now, I need to make sure that these two arrays are the same size so that when I bundle them back together, they create a nice graph. So I need to make sure they both start at the same index and they go for the same length. I am going to create a control here. Create a control so the user on the front panel can decide what the start index is. And I'm going to wire this same control in to both my X data and my Y data array subset blocks. I'm going to do the same thing for length so that one control controls both of them. So create control, and I need to wire that in to the length for my Y data as well. Now I have two subsets that I'm going to take out, bundle back together just as we did over here, and plot in a new graph. I can do that by copying and pasting these two blocks, or I could go pull new blocks from the palette. I have a broken wire here, meaning that there's a wrong data type, and if I hover over it, it actually tells me what, but basically there's nothing wired in. So let's wire in some things. Let's wire in my X and my Y data, and my broken wire becomes a happy wire. Now I'm going to rename this graph so I can keep track, and I'm going to find it on the front panel. And LV just stuck it somewhere. LV also stuck length and index in places that I do not appreciate. So let's move some things around. To make a slightly better user interface. If I populate these controls with values for start index and length, I can change the data that's displayed. Right now, the length was 0, so no data is displayed. But if I put a length in of 900 data points, say, I'll display only this portion. I could make my start index index number 100 and display that much. It really depends on what you think the linear portion of your data set is. The last question asked you for the slope. So similar to what we did over here, I'm just going to copy and paste those blocks. And I'm going to wire in my Y data, which was my lower data stream, to the top here, and my X data, I'm going to make this spaghetti mess to the X data terminal. Now this wiring over here looks terrible and it's confusing. You can have LabVIEW clean up your block diagram. In the Edit menu, Clean Up Diagram. Personally, I don't like this option, but if you want to use it to get rid of all the spaghetti, that works for me. I like to label things. I like to put X data and Y data, just so I can remember that my Y data follows this line and my X data follows that line, and I can kind of work back through it. When I run this, I will get 2 slopes and 2 graphs, and hopefully the slopes won't be the same. And they are different, substantially so, because we took out the nonlinear data points in the second graph, and so the slope is a better match. Again, I will rename things. For my user.